You did have a lot of explanation on what this tournament is, what are the important details about the tournament. If you have skipped this, and if you're joining this session as your first time, don't worry, we have all the recordings, we have all the slides already posted in the WhatsApp group. If you aren't there in the WhatsApp group, we will be ensuring that we get you added ASAP. If you are still not there in the WhatsApp group, just use the chat box, let us know. And if you have any personal emergency, which means if you can't really make it to the tournament, this looks like I wouldn't be available for any rounds, my school starts late, I come back from extra classes, I have a MUN, etc. You can write it to this email ID. All of your personal queries will get sorted here. Amazing. Great. Okay, Sanvi, we will ensure that you get added. Just give me your number, just post it on a private message so we can ensure that you are added. Great. So yes, welcome to Indian Debating League 3.0, which is powered by Ogly and IIT Delhi Debating Society. The theme that we're following for the entirety of this edition is Ancient India to AI-led India. Yesterday, we had this extensive session on what the theme looks like and what are the potential motions. Note, all the motions will be released by 22nd to 23rd of October. You will be notified with the schedule, what your Zoom links are, what the motion are, and you will be getting like 3 to 4 days of preparation, so you don't have to worry about it. And you will also be getting a document where you get to know the format, like everything that we have been discussing for so long, you will be getting everything duly. So yes, don't worry about it. So yes, we are having extensive 36 states and 8 union territories participating with us, and we've had like more than 1,200 registrations at this point of time. So yeah, we're ensuring that we democratize debating to a larger extent. Great. So this is something that we also discussed yesterday. Ideal gives you 4 important benefits. First is you're enabling like a mindset in where you grow. Second, more sort of reflective thinking. So, oftentimes you must have heard your teachers say that, hey, you need to reflect before you think or think deeper. That's basically it. Try to think deeper in debating. Thirdly, confidence in expression. Because, as long as you start, this is your first tournament, might be your second tournament, maybe you're an experienced debater. It's still very important for you to get that ounce of confidence or get that high expressions, and this actually makes you and enables a holistic development in your personality. Lastly, global citizens. You get to meet so many individuals because we have had so many registrations. I'm pretty sure you will be making friends, but you will also be interacting with individuals who are highly intelligent, and your capacity to debate more or your ability to get inspired is really high in this tournament. So yes, welcome. I have actually released the important dates here, and I want you to be very, very clear about all of these dates. Note the theme that you're following. Note the theme is not the topic. The topic will be notified to you from 22nd October to 23rd October. Great. So the theme is India's Odyssey, Ancient India to AI-led India. So we start from scratch and we go till the end. That's all. Just like the development of how India has probably had important like additions to its own subcontinent, from history to science, from like historical monuments to technological developments. We are covering all of it. Yesterday I also discussed what are the sub themes that you have to characterize and what are the things that you have to specifically focus. Yes, a couple of things here, then I will be taking doubts a little later. First, you will get 3 chances to qualify as a part of state team. We will be releasing all information as to how do you qualify for a state team, but everybody gets to participate in round 1, round 2, round 3. If you don't perform well, if you're underwhelmed, or if you're overwhelmed in round 1 or in round 2, don't get disappointed, because debating is a journey. You just have to keep doing it until and unless you get better. Secondarily, top 42 individuals or top 42 students who perform really well will be a part of Indian Schools Debating Society's quiz rounds, which is the last round of selections to Indian, like the WSDC squad, which is responsible for sending it to worlds. Great. Thirdly, everybody will get certificates and everybody will get recognition, and that's really imperative because it incentivizes you to stay motivated throughout. Fourthly, a lot of individuals and individuals who perform really well in Indian Debating League's third edition, you will be getting a wild card entry to Harvard and Stanford invitational debates. So these debates are held by the university itself. This looks like Harvard and Stanford. And we've had like so many, like 17 students who have qualified for Harvard and Stanford invitational debates previously, and they have also performed really well in Yale invitational back then. Great. Three things here that I want you to really pay attention to. Training was held like so. This is like the third batch, and this is the last batch in which we are having trainings. So, if you look at the number of individuals who've joined today, it's 44. Earlier, we used to have like 300, 400 people. We have conducted their training session in two batches. This is the last batch, and your training will conclude tomorrow with mocks and case preparation. So, today we are discussing more on what the format is, what the structure is, how do we approach motion, etc. So, the trainings were lasted for like approximately 10 days, started from 9th October and ending tomorrow, which is 21st of October. Qualifiers, which means when is your tournament? That's the basic question that we're having for so long now. So qualifiers and the preliminary rounds of the tournament will be held from 26th October to 7th November. And the dates and the schedule will be out very, very soon. Potentially the timing is going to be from 4 o'clock to 8:30. And we will be releasing everything. So your information is going to be out really soon. Finals, which means individuals who qualify for semi-finals and finals, will be in the end of November. So you participate in qualifiers, couple of people then qualify for interstate, then state, then you go to finals, which is semi-finals, and finals, which will be held in offline mode. Note, qualifiers is online, and finals, which means semi-finals and finals, will be offline in IIT Delhi itself, which is Delhi. Yeah, national capital. Cool. I will be taking doubts. Feel free to write in the chat box. I will ask you to unmute yourself very, very quickly. Great. Okay, I'll just see the doubts. Sophia asks, ma'am, if we win in third round in IIT Delhi, we will then be selected for quiz rounds. Note, yes, that's a high chance. Great. Yes, Gayatri, you can go ahead. Garthi. I hope you can unmute yourself.
Good evening, ma'am. I have two questions. Firstly, can you tell me that after qualifiers round, we will go to the Delhi. In that round, are we divided into teams?
We will be notifying that very, very, very soon, but that's a high possibility. Don't like this information will be out to you by 22nd to 23rd October. Just like have patience, you will have everything by then. Because I do not want to give information in bits and pieces because that might be confusing since we are preparing the document in final, let's say the live document, which is essential for you to look at everything that's happening, post qualifiers, post everything. So think about qualifiers right now. Finals will be updated very, very soon. Works well? Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. I have one question. That our title is Ancient India, and in ancient India, like Vedic culture, Buddhism, and Harappa, these things are happening. So why you are adding medieval India and modern India? If the
So
title is ancient.
Yeah, so the theme is it's not ancient India, it's ancient India to AI-led India. So we have to categorize into three different trajectories that India has followed. So, ancient India is just like the starting of India. We also need to involve medieval and contemporary India to show that, there is technology, there is like invention of industrialization and so many like chat, GPT, etc. So yeah, that's a whole trajectory. It's a theme. Works well?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Garthi. Prisha, you can lower your hand, Garthi. Prisha. Okay, just a second. Yes. You can unmute yourself now. Wait, you don't have a question? Okay, I'll lower your hand. Okay, Anaya.
Ma'am, I have.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering. So, ma'am, for this is Team Rajasthan. So, once we've qualified, after the qualifier rounds.
Yeah.
So, will you arrange for going to Delhi, or we have to arrange it ourselves?
All arrangements are done by your personal expenses. Nothing is arranged by Oakley. Works well?
Sure, ma'am. And ma'am, another thing
Yeah.
that, ma'am, we have ancient India, medieval India, and modern India. So we have 3 qualifier rounds. So in
Yes,
each
there
of these 3 qualifier rounds, will it be like for the first round we'll have ancient India, for the second round we'll have medieval India, and for the third round we'll have modern India?
Don't get confused by this. So ancient India to AIL India is the theme. So, we are not categorizing rounds as ancient India round 1, medieval India round 2, modern India round 3. No, that's not the characterization. This is the division of how you have to research about the theme. The topics can be anything around this theme. So there is no strict categorization as of yet.
So basically, it may be something related to these 3 sub themes,
Yes, yes.
not something out of that.
Great. I gave examples on what the topic would look like in yesterday's session. I will be sharing the recording once again for your personal perusal. Works well?
I'm on the group.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Great. Yes, Anaya.
Ma'am, I would just like to know that how many people are we against? Like, how many people are there in the total, and how many people out of those people will get selected for the finals?
We will be notifying that because that depends on score calculation and we don't have exact data right now because again, like the qualifiers haven't started yet. So we like top 42 people will be selected for the ISDS quiz rounds and national camps. Like quiz rounds, which is the last round for you to get selected in national camps. So yes, the data which is available right now is top 42. So you have to make in the top 50. Works well?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Great. Meanwhile, we will also be releasing score calculation by 22nd October, maximum 23rd October. Great. Avika.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, like, when are the dates for 6 to 8 qualifying rounds?
The dates for qualifier rounds is 26th October to 7th November. We will be releasing the schedule when is your break because we're also clashing with Dussehra and we do not want to mess up with festivals as well. So yes, we will be releasing the schedule then, but the qualifiers date are stagnant. 26th October it starts, 7th November it ends. We will be dividing batches and categories. You will be notified about that. Don't worry.
All right, and one more thing. I think I might have an issue. So if it's like near to 26th October or 6 to 8 like qualifying round, then I think I won't be able to join at that time.
Yes, so I have written down the email ID in which you can actually write an email to us. What is your problem? How do you want us to arrange things, etc. So yes, this is the email ID. Ask your parents to write an email to us and we're good to go. Thanks, Avika. Satakshi.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes.
So ma'am, I just wanted to ask that in semi-finals and finals, the topic would be given on the spot or like before it would given?
We will be giving that on the spot.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
And you will be given preparation time. Viral?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I want to ask that our qualifiers round would be reconducted if we have posted a mail on hello@ogly.in or it would be how it would be managed. Because
So you
if we
have to sit
missed
for
a round.
all qualifiers. So yeah, you have to sit for all qualifiers rounds starting from 26th October and consistently perform well for you to qualify in the finals as well. If you have any emergency, write to hello@ogly.ai. This depends on score calculation, etc. Which will we be notifying it later. So yes, that's like a far-fetched idea. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Sanchit.
So, ma'am,
Sanchit, go ahead. Yeah.
I was wondering that is accent one of the criterias that will be taken in consideration while the judges will be judging?
What criteria?
Accent of the participant?
No, we don't discriminate on EFL or EPL biases.
Thank you.
Great. Himanshi?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask that there will be a loud argument or like speaking softly with each other or fighting with each other will be
Speaking
like that.
softly. Yeah, that's a nice question. I want you to be very clear on what the disciplinary policy of OGLI looks like and how do you want to initiate an Indian Debating League. We will be ensuring that you will have total kindness, like try to be very gentle with your opponent. Do not bash them. Do not start using malicious languages or like profanities, which might be really disturbing for other speakers. We want to create an environment which is safe and we want to continue, like we want to make everybody continue debating. Oftentimes people are just like really scared about, hey, the debating space is really like not very welcoming, etc. So we want to ensure that every one of you is kind when you actually start speaking with your opponents or when you start interacting in a professional space like this. So yes, try to be kind, try to speak softly. Don't let's say like shout at the other person. Ensure that you're extremely kind and gentle and cognizant. This is called equity rules and policies, which will be given to you when you will be like getting the tournament schedule, tournament motion, etc. So yeah, thanks for raising that question. I think most of the people just like subconsciously be negligent about it. So
Ma'am, I wanted to ask that we have to join tomorrow also for the practice.
tomorrow is the mock session, which means we will be having practice. Tomorrow is the last day of your training session. If you have been in the mock and practice sessions previously, batch 1 and batch 2, you can ignore it. And if you want to really join it, I would appreciate that you join it because, you know, no practice is enough. So you have to keep doing it.
Yes, ma'am, I have to do practice, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's amazing. Akshaj?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I had a doubt in the events, not the events, the things that on which we are gonna get the information, on which we are gonna jot the points and all the things. So
Can
are
you
these the
repeat
main,
yourself, Akshaj?
ma'am? Are these the main topics that you are showing?
The topics will be released by maximum 23rd October, but we're trying to release it by 22nd October. This is the larger theme that we are following.
Ma'am means, ma'am, maybe these may come.
Yes, so this is the theme. So the topic will revolve around the theme. So let's say your theme is Halloween. We can't really involve Mickey Mouse in that. So the theme, if the theme is generally like G20, the topics will be around like how did India develop? What kind of economic, let's say, junctures are we following? How is India's, let's say, health and every facility? So yes, around that, if that makes sense.
Means around all things.
Yes.
The topic. Okay,
Yes,
ma'am,
I have
thank you, ma'am.
explained the theme in yesterday's session as well. You can like go through the recordings.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thanks so much, Akshaj. Harnik.
Yes, ma'am, I missed a little bit of the starting the session, like the start 10 minutes. Ma'am, can you tell what happened?
Nothing else. I was just clearing the doubts and we were just understanding what is the theme of this entire session. So you haven't missed anything really important. We will be starting the approaching motion informative session very soon after I take up all the doubts. If your question is answered, ensure that you do not raise your hand because I'm trying to be accommodative here. Anushka?
Ma'am, will there be any impromptu speeches, like any impromptu rounds?
Yes, there will be impromptu rounds. We will be notifying you about that. Note all the information regarding what the motion is, when is the schedule out, etc. will be notified to you by 23rd October. Saket.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask how many people are participating?
How many people are participating in total? It's more than 1,000. Divided into categories.
Specifically Maharashtra, how many people are participating in Maharashtra?
Specifically Maharashtra, 200.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, great. Aviral?
Yes, ma'am. Just one question, that are we allowed to use Hindi language in between the debate?
What did you just say? Can you speak a little louder?
Ma'am, are we allowed to use Hindi language in between the debate if somewhere
What
needed?
language?
Are we allowed to use Hindi as a language between
No.
debate?
This debate is not bilingual. This debate is strictly English. No bilingual.
Okay, ma'am.
Great. Ahana, I will take the last 3 doubts and then I'll move to the explanation, like a very quick explanation of the theme for those who have missed, and then yeah. Ahana. If you don't have a doubt, don't raise your hand. Vedant.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, where can we get the recording if we miss a session?
I will be posting it once again after I'm done with this session. Anshita?
Yes. So, ma'am, ancient India to AI like India is the main topic. Like all the motions will be about this topic, right?
It's the theme, yes.
Is it?
Garti?
Yes, ma'am. I have a doubt that how many people are participating from our state UP?
This is demographic data. I am not obliged to release that yet, but we have like a lot of participants from different states. Great. I haven't memorized all of the data yet, but I just knew what Maharashtra had because we had maximum reg from there. Great. Amazing. I will be moving on to the brief explanation of the theme. Feel free to use like the chat box to post your doubts. Great. Make sure that you're being relevant with what is being explained here. All the data will be explained or will be provided to you by latest 23rd October. Great. So this is the theme. This is not the topic. Topic can be coming from the theme that we're deriving. So let's say it's like a concentric circle. So there are two circles, one larger circle. This is the larger circle. Topics are within that circle. Works well. So let's say if your theme is technology, you will always have motions such as this house believes that ChatGPT has done more harm than good, or this house believes that teachers should be replaced by humans. Teachers should be replaced by artificial intelligence. That's all. Great. So how do you research about this vast topic? You divide it into 3 parts. First is ancient India, second is medieval India, third is modern India. You ask yourself questions because I do not want to know the name of the king, or I do not want to name of the specific, let's say, war which has happened during, let's say, the Mughal period, etc. Because history is an expansive subject. What I do want to know, or what I really want you to do, is get a timeline. When were the important things happening in the Indian subcontinent during the period of ancient India, Bronze Age, medieval India, modern India? So ancient India, there are 3 important things. I think this list is exhaustive. You can have as many important details being added in that particular period. Ancient India has 3 important developments. First, Harappa. What is Harappa civilization? What kind of impact does it have on the society? Vedic culture. What are the types of Vedas, and is Vedas an important part of the education system that we have in India right now? How has the Vedic culture influenced education in India? That is an important question. Buddhism. What is the story behind Siddhartha? So Siddhartha later became Lord Buddha because they had Siddhartha came from an extremely rich family, but one day he was just looking at the condition of, where does he live? And he was just really dilapidated. He was like, hey, I think people are suffering and I'm genuinely enjoying my life in a palace. I should also just leave everything and just stay with all of these people. So this is the rise of Buddhism. You want to leave all materialistic possessions and you want to start with meditative lifestyle, really sober lifestyle, etc. Second is medieval India. Medieval India is basically, so follow this timeline. Start with ancient India and its developments. Try to get a rough idea of what kind of developments did happen in ancient India and how is it relevant in the current status quo. Thirdly, then move on to medieval India. Medieval India has 3 important developments. First is obviously Mughal dynasty. We don't want to know the number of kings that Mughal dynasty had, but we want to know what kind of mindset all kings had and what kind of impact does Mughal dynasty has on architecture, on other dynasties. What is like Mughal colonialism? How is Islamic architecture really influential in the beautification of Indian subcontinent? How is it relevant to history, etc. Thirdly, modern India. So modern India has a couple of themes. First, always understand understand what was British colonialism. There are multiple like debates on British colonialism and how India suffered. So, you know, India was called Sone ki Chidiya back then because we had a lot of treasure and we also had a lot of gold. It is when the British colony was genuinely superseded in the Indian, let's say, territory that we have. All the gold was genuinely taken away by the British colony itself. And, you know, if you look at Kohinoor, so Kohinoor is right now in, let's say, this museum in London. And it is something like everybody calls it like there's this museum in London which has all the important stuff from different colonies that Britain has occupied. So you have like architecture from like artifacts from Africa, because British also established their colony there. So it's called Stolen Museum. You've like stolen a lot of things and you just like put it there, and you probably call it like a museum itself, but that's not a museum of possessions that Britain had. It's like a stolen museum. Great. Thirdly, technology and current issues. Obviously, you need to study current affairs. I think this is an emphasis that all teachers do. So what is the importance of reading current affairs? At least you know what's happening. So, you know, you need to know what's happening in Israel, Palestine, and how is it impacting modern India. What kind of stance does India take? You need to be aware about what's happening in the Indian community. What is Métis community? Like all of the, let's say, social developments that we see right now, you need to be extremely aware about it. And you can refer to newspapers such as Times of India, Guardian, New York Times, and you can also download this app called Napoli. Napoli is really good. I personally use it. Great. This is how you research. You try to divide into subcategories, try to ask yourself questions like why, when, how is it relevant, etc. And then you are sort of done with it. Okay. There's also this thing called, like, there are themes, but there are also sub-themes. So, you know, a theme is ancient India to AI-led India. Sub-themes can be unsung heroes, or, you know, Gurukuls, or Vedic era. Or it can be, you know, women leaders in the Indian freedom struggle, or it can be freedom fighters. It can be Khadi, it can be Gandhi, it can be constitution development in India post-colonialism. So all of this is sub-themes of the larger theme, right? So theme is not the topic, topic is under themes. Works well? Great. Let's move on what the format looks like. But before that, I want to answer questions in the chat box. Is this a real theme? Yes, this is a real theme. Ma'am, you were telling about the type of motion we can get, but how can we debate on how India developed? I will be discussing that today. Okay, Aru, if you can write your doubt in the chat box. Ma'am, we will debate with our state only, or is it possible to debate with other states people? So, you know, like we are debating as an Indian, like the country itself. So you will be like debating with other people as well. Like not with, it's an individual format. So, you know, you will be meeting other people from other states as well. It's like a pan-Asian competition. Ma'am, you will give the topic on the spot. So the topic will be released 23rd October. We will be having prepared rounds and impromptu rounds. I've already clarified that, Manat. Yes, thanks, Devika, for writing that. Chenika, you can maybe rejoin once again if you're facing internet issues. How will we get the topics? We will be giving out all the topics, all the relevant information via email. We will be uploading it on the website. We will be also giving it on WhatsApp. You will get, okay, yes. Garthi, we will be ensuring that you get added. Yes. Ma'am, you can tell me that how can starter points in front of judges? I will be discussing that. How can we do argument with the opponent? We will be discussing everything today regarding structure, format, etc. will be discussed. So hold on for a second. Yes, meanwhile, use the chat box, Aro and Naisha. I will be taking that out later. Great. Let's understand what the format looks like. 1 versus 1. This is something that I have been repeating for the past 10 days, but I want you to be very, very clear about this. Sorry, Aro, if you're getting this notification that you have to unmute, you don't have to unmute yourself right now. Great. So what is the format in the Indian Debating League that we are following? So this is the format. It's 1 versus 1. One person debates with another person. You are not doing a team debate. This is not WSDC, neither this is an Asian parliamentary debate. None of the formats that you have to actually be aware about right now. This is like the beginning of how debates actually happen in Indian Debating League and how do we empower more debaters here. So yes, what is 1 versus 1? So 1 versus 1 is called proposition versus opposition, but you will only have one speaker. It's an individual format, right? So what does a proposition do and what does an opposition do? A proposition always agrees with the motion and an opposition always disagrees with the motion. So let's say the topic is, this house believes that I will be using pen over pencils. So on proposition, you will have to say I will be using pens. On opposition, you will say I will be using pencils. That's all. Great. Let's take a relevant motion here. This house believes that teachers should be replaced by AI, or this house would ban zoos. I think this is a very overused motion. I want to still take it. It's very relatable. So on side proposition, you will be explaining me why do you want to ban zoos and what is the benefit of banning zoos. On side opposition, you will be telling me, no, we should not ban zoos. We should rather keep the zoos as it is, and there are benefits to having zoos. So yes, proposition agree with the motion, opposition do not agree with the motion, disagree with proposition. Great. This is the format and this is the chronology that we are following of the format itself. You will be having a proposition speech of 3 minutes. Then you will have an opposition main speech for 3 minutes. So, the entire debate is divided into constructive speeches and reply speeches. Constructive speeches are called main speeches. Reply speeches are called responsive speeches or summary speeches. Great. This is what the format looks like in the very first place. Proposition speaker speaks for 3 minutes. Opposition speaker speaks for 3 minutes because they are now starting to debate. And this is called the main speech. I will be discussing what is the main speech and how do you actually do it in the later slides. What is the reply speech and how do we go about this? So, after proposition speech 1 and after opposition speech 1, you will be having proposition reply and then you will be having an opposition reply. So remember this format right now. Prop speech, prop constructive speech, op constructive speech, prop reply, op reply. All of these speeches are for 3 minutes. Works well. So the debate lasts for 12 minutes. We are clear with it. Now I'll be moving ahead. Any doubts on the format? No, Vivan, we will not, the sides will be allocated to you randomly. Nobody gets to choose what their side is. Ma'am, can we start with our speech with quote to catch the attention of the judges and also add some inspirative things? Yes. Can we use personal pronouns or do you have to use house beliefs? House beliefs. You can also use both. I think I will prefer house beliefs. Ma'am, we were told that we are in favor prop. Yes. Ma'am, are the motions based on ancient India to AI India? Yes, Aro, I have cleared that. How can we debate on ancient India to AI India? I have discussed that, Lovit. Dakshita, we will be ensuring that you get added. Dakshita, ensure that you please PM me your number. Ma'am, qualifies as people over India only or other countries will be there? All over India. Great. Who will be there with us at the time of qualifiers? Your parents, the teachers, team from Ogly. So you are not left alone. Ma'am, first it will be prop speech and then op speech. Obviously, who starts the debate? Somebody who favors the motion. So you start proposition speech first, then opposition constructive speech, then proposition reply, then opposition reply. That is the format. Just memorize it. Just keep your brain as photographic as you possibly can. Click a picture in your mind. Let's move ahead because I want to discuss really important stuff here today. Okay, what is a constructive speech? I will be taking hands. What do you understand by constructive speech? Lower your hands, Satakshi and Arsha. You can use the chat box. What is a constructive speech? Is my question. I see hands. That's lovely. Okay, Chenika, you can go ahead.
So constructive speech basically means constructive speech basically means that you're speaking the main thing, that what do you want to mean in your point and what do you try to say to support your topic.
Yes. So constructive speeches are basically your main speeches. So, you have prepared for 3 to 4 days and you have genuinely come up with so many sub-themes, questions, examples, introduction, body, so much matter. In your constructive speech, you actually give your main matter, which you've prepared for the last 3 to 4 days. Thanks, Chanika. I will take up Sanchit.
So ma'am, I wanted to ask one thing. that can we get motions in which the foreign impacts are involved in modern India?
Foreign impact, yeah.
Okay, and
Yes, yes.
just one more thing. Can we also get motions like, do you think that this movement started by such or such general of the Britishers was correct or not?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Great.
you.
I will take one more hand for constructive speech. Anshita. Mannat, I will be explaining that. Please have patience. Do not spam in the chat box.
Ma'am, so constructive speeches are basically our first speech in which we keep our point and we explain our point.
Yes, exactly. Right, everybody lower your hands. I will be having more questions throughout this entire lecture. Great. So what is a constructive speech? Which is basically your main speech and it is also your first speech. So in your first speech, you have to keep all of these points in your mind. First, what is the structure of your speech? So obviously, structure of a speech is greetings. I am this person. I will be speaking for on the topic and my topic is like this. You introduce the topic and then you defend your stance with strong points and explain them. I will be taking up motion, so this entire constructive speech becomes much more clearer. Second, you will be giving all the reasons for why the judge should believe your stance is the most efficient and effective. Note, your job as the first speaker is to ensure that you are persuasive and you're able to convince what the judges really want from you. So, judges are neutral actors. They aren't taking any side. It's your responsibility as a prop speaker or as an opposition speaker to tilt the mind of the judge, and then they will give you the win. Fourthly, you have to articulate your speech and structure it in the following manner. Always have an introduction, then a body, then a conclusion. Introduction can be for 30 seconds. Body should be of 2 minutes. Conclusion can be of 30 seconds. Priya, if you can stop annotating on the screen. Great. Great. What is an introduction and what is a body and what is a conclusion? Let's look at that. So introduction is you have to introduce your topic with a rhetorical question or a statement. Can somebody tell me what's a rhetorical question here? Yes, I see 3 hands. Arshia.
So a rhetorical question is basically a question that you ask the audience and you don't expect like an answer back.
Yes, so rhetorical questions are questions that you ask for emphasis. So let's say the population of India is rising. So, a rhetorical question would look like, do the judges or do the audience think that the population of India is rising? Everybody knows the answer is yes, but you ask this question to sort of engage with other speakers or to engage with the audience itself. It's basically a question that you ask for emphasis and that you ask for more dramatization and more rhetorical in your speeches in the very first place. You can introduce your topic with a quote, with a statistic, with a fact, with a personal story, with an experience, anything that lasts for 30 to 40 seconds. The time limit or the time distribution that I've given for introduction to be of 30 seconds, body to be of 2 minutes, a conclusion of 30 seconds is my preference. If you think you can have an introduction for 1 minute, sure. You can have a body for 1 minute, sure. If you can have a conclusion for 1 minute. But ideal distribution of time should be 30 seconds spent on introduction, 2 minutes spent on your body because it's the most important part. Here you're explaining your arguments and conclusion should be of 30 seconds. Follow this. Don't use 1, 1, 1. Use 30, 2 and 30. Great. Yep, Sanchit, do you have anything to say here?
Yeah, so I would just like to answer that question where you asked what a rhetorical question is. May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I believe a rhetorical question is a question in which you know that the audience knows the answer. It's just that you're trying to provoke them on that particular point. You're trying to emphasize and bring that point from the corner in their mind.
Yeah, that's amazing, Sanchit. Great. So let me take a topic. Okay, wait, avoid that notification that you're getting, Sanchit. Okay, so the topic is voting should be made mandatory. This house believes that voting should be made mandatory. Here on the first thing that you will do is, let's say you start with a fact. So, why should voting be mandatory? That's a question. That's a rhetorical question. and that's a question you want to answer. So you can start with a quote as well. So, more than 70% of India's population never comes out of their house to vote because they never understand the value of what voting looks like in the very first place. So, you start with something that's catchy, but it's also trying to lay emphasis on what is the responsibility of every citizen, and why it then delves more into why voting should be made mandatory. To start with something that is catchy, that is extremely highlighting, and that is reflective of what you want to do in your topic in the very first place. Second thing that you have to remember in introduction is give a brief understanding about your topic before defending your stance. So, if the topic is if voting should be made mandatory, so you start with identifying the key terms of the topic and then you justify it. So what is the key term of the topic? Voting mandatory. Explain what voting is. Why do you want to have elections? What is mandatory? What is a mandate like? So you introduce the topic. Introduction of the topic doesn't mean that you start repeating what the topic is, because everybody inside that round or inside that room knows what the topic is. You just have to explain it, because a lot of people would not know what the topic really looks like in the very first place. It's your job to provide a brief understanding. Third, you can start with a famous quote relevant to the topic, start with data, start with statistics, start with a story, start with something catchy. That's an introduction. Explain the motion, ask rhetorical questions, start with a famous quote, start with anything that catches the attention of the judges. Works well? Stick it to 30 to 40 seconds. Questions? Chat box. Can we see the debate of other people also? Yes, I will be making this session very engaging, so you will be able to hear others' opinions. Yes. Ma'am, what is THBT? Thanks everybody for answering that question. Yes. I will be taking the doubts later. You all can, whoever is raising their hand, write your doubts in the chat box, because I will be ensuring that you raise your hand when I ask you more questions which are related to answering what the motion looks like. Okay, let me give an example of what the introductions look like and what do we expect from debaters to do. Note, this is just an example. You can be innovative, you can be creative, you can be extremely novel when you actually do it. Great. For example, the topic is India should not adopt Western style of education. So, in your introduction, you can start by a quote. A quote can be from anybody. It's Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan right now, and he is one of the most important figures in revolutionizing what education looked like in India in the very first place. If you have the time, I would love if you can go on Google and read articles on education by Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. It has been really enlightening for the Indian education system itself, and why was it relevant for you to adopt a much more Indianized version of education, and why Western style of education is also good. So he has a better and a holistic opinion on both of the parts of education styles. Great. After providing a quote, or after providing the relevance of why India should not adopt Western style of education on side proposition, you can start by explaining what the key term of the motions look like. So here, if you look at the topic, the key terms are one, Western style of education. A lot of motions can have multiple key terms. You just have to identify the key terms which look ambiguous. I will just write this down. Okay. Key terms of the motion should be explained. This looks like ensuring that the ambiguity of the motion is removed and everyone is on the same page. Can somebody tell me why defining the motion is important? Why do we do it? Everybody understands what the motion is. Why do we spend so much time defining the motion? Harnik and Naisha, do you have the answer for it, or are you raising your hand for the previous question? I will be recognizing Lovett.
Yeah, so we should define the motion, because as everyone knows the motion, but they do not know the main points or the key features of the motion. They do not know what is happening currently. They do not know the details of it.
Yeah, that's nice, Lavit. So, it's important for you to define everything because everybody wants to know what you're trying to say at the end of the day. So it gives you better direction of what the motions look like. That's all. Okay, Satakshi, I'll take you.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah.
We explain the motion because it engages the listeners to relate with us.
Great, thank you, Satakshi. You can use the chat box to. Amazing. So, lastly, you can ask a rhetorical question like, even after 77 years of independence, is India really free from Western influence? So, try to define, try to ask relevant questions. How do you ask a rhetorical question is the important clarification that I have to make here. Just, keep asking yourself questions like how, when, why, where, what. That's all. Then you will be able to frame what rhetorical questions look like in the very first place. Right, let's go to body. What is body and why do we have to spend 2 minutes on it? You can also spend 1.5 minutes, but I usually prefer debaters should spend more time explaining what their points and arguments look like. Great, because introduction and conclusion is sort of like supplementary and it sort of completes the speech. But body is the main speech and body is the main part of your let's say speech having the most number of arguments, but prioritizing quality over quantity. It's like a sandwich. Bread, the upper layer of the bread is called introduction. The lower part of the bread is called conclusion. The filler is basically the body. And filler is the most important because sandwich wouldn't get the taste without the filler. Body, couple of things here. Remember to have 4 things. First, outline your pointers. So, it is something that also happens when you get to write essays, when you get to write letters. You divide your paragraphs into 3 parts, right? Introduction, body, conclusion. Your body is primarily important for you to reflect what your arguments are. So let me take that example once again. This looks like voting should be made mandatory. Why do you think voting should be made mandatory? Let's get to arguments. The body is arguments. That's all. Before I take up arguments, keep raising your hand so I recognize all of you. Later, your arguments can be point A, point B, point C. I'm not revealing arguments about why voting should be mandatory on side proposition, but you have to do 3 things when you start discussing your arguments in front of your judges. First, how are you defending your point of view? Is it positive? Is it negative? What is your stance? Tell me if you're in favor or if you're in opposition. You can also do it that in your introduction. Second, prioritize the best arguments, because oftentimes I've seen debaters prioritize arguments, like prioritize 10 arguments, but 5 arguments were the most relevant. So ensure that you do not quantitatively hoard arguments where only 5 is workable, when only 1 is workable, or when only 3 is workable. So try to prioritize the best arguments as opposed to all arguments, because number of arguments don't matter. It's just that the quality and reasoning of the argument that really matters. Explain them with good reasoning and examples. So this is something that we probably discuss. State your claim, reason, example. So let me take an example of state your claim, reason, example. This is the format and structure of an argument. Structure of an argument. Great. So my claim is I love ice cream. Everybody loves ice cream and everybody has opinions in the world. But I don't think so a lot of opinions matter because every opinion is disagreeable. Like I can simply say I don't like ice cream. So state your claim but reason it out. I like ice cream because of 5 reasons. First, it is tasty, it has quality, it gives me pleasure. Thirdly, it is delicious. Fourthly, it is very decorative. So all of these 5 reasons give me prove why ice cream is better. And example can be Baskin Robin ice creams. That's all. So always try to give a heading to an argument, give reasons to that argument, then give an example to that argument. The argument and its structure is already in the chat box. Refer. But yeah, let's go to why voting should be mandatory, and I'll be recognizing 2 hands. Avika. Just be quick. Okay, recognizing Soham. Okay, wait, who do I recognize? Harnik, go ahead.
Ma'am, voting shouldn't be mandatory. It should be an option, as many
It
people.
should. Oh, that's wonderful. But I'm discussing for, which means why voting should be mandatory.
So voting should be mandatory to conduct and fair political voting, as if many people don't vote, one person may win, but if those people would have voted, the outcome may be different. That's why many other voting should be mandatory to conduct a fair outcome.
Yes, that's fair, Harnik. Good explanation. Let's go to Akshaj. Be quick. Okay, Akshaj, you can write your points in the chat box. I'll take the last hand on why voting should be mandatory. Nishika?
Yes, I agree that voting should be mandatory, as if you're not voting, you're technically losing your right. And if you're voting, you're basically giving your vote. That means you're giving your opinion. Like, for example, that if a person in a democratic government, we should I believe that voting should be mandatory. For example, there is two presidents fighting in election, and the person that is not deserving gets more votes, as because majority of people did not vote. So that be unfair for both the other person who's running and for the people who did not got the chance to vote.
Yes, that's nice, Nishika. Great. Lower your hands, everyone. We will be having more questions and more motions later. Great. Feel free to use the chat box to write your arguments as well. Just be extremely respectful and cognizant of others' opinions as well. Great. I hope you've understood what body looks like. A further like insight on what the structure of an argument looks like is this. State your claim, explain it, example. This is true for everything. And this is something that you can inculcate in your regular conversations as well. So let's say you and your friend are, let's say, disagreeing on something. And let's say your proposition and your friend is opposition. And the fight is on which pen is better. You say that octave is better, and your friend says, wait, there's one more pen, no? Trimax. Okay, I love Trimax. Okay, so you just argue on why octave is better. So you state your claim, octave is better. You have to explain it why octave is better, because opposition can simply say no, Trimax is better. Who do the judge actually believe? So the judge needs explanation of why octave or why Trimax is better, right? So the explanation is the tipping point of the debate. What is a tipping point? It is where the deadlock of the judge is persuaded, or the judge is thinking, maybe I think I should go with octave, I should go with Trimax, etc. I can also take Pierre Riccardi, but okay, but like octave and Trimax is very like famous, so you guys can also use it when you go to like higher grades and stop using pencils. Yes, amazing. Let's go to explanation. Octave is better because octave is smooth. Second, octave looks very stylish. Octave has a larger like durability of its ink, or whatever like the gel looks like. So yes, these are my three explanation. Example can be octave is also very cheap, so everybody can afford it. So these are the explanation for why octave is better. Let's go to Trimax. So on opposition, the argument can be no, octave is not better because Trimax is much more smoother and it writes really faster. Second, I think the Trimax is really like durable as well, and you sort of disagree with side proposition on this. You just have to prove why Trimax is more durable. Then example can be Trimax is, hey, I think it's expensive, but the quality is much more higher. That's all. This is how you state your claim, this is how you explain it, and this is how you give an example to make your argument looks very grounded here. Okay, how to approach a motion. Before that, let's look at questions. Octane comes in many colors. Okay, yeah, that's a good thing. Ma'am, voting tells us that a person is interested in the welfare of the country and the state. Yes, nice. Ma'am, for democratic function of the country, voting should be yes. Tell me why. Tell me why this is true. Explain more, Arya. Explain more. Ma'am, I have points of proposition. Feel free to write in the chat box. Ma'am, for democratic function of the country, voting should be mandatory. Great. Tell me why that's true. Octane's link doesn't leak. Okay. In our intro, can we use I disagree with this point or I agree with this point? Yes. Try to, catch the attention of the audience as well. Yes. Fair. Let's look at how to approach a motion. Lower your hands, everyone. I will be taking the doubts later. How to approach a motion. Couple of things here. First, read the key terms and define the motion. Oftentimes, if the debate is around this house believes that cats have done more harm than good, this house believes that cats have done more harm than good. Oftentimes, speakers just don't read the motion correctly, which is why they end up defending the wrong stance. You don't have to be like this. You have to ensure that you read the motion at least thrice and you try to understand the key terms which are there in the motion. Here, the key terms are two: cats and dogs. I will discuss that, Sophia. Have a little patience. Great. So read the key terms and define the motion. Second, things to look in for a motion. So what do you look for in a motion? So like every topic, like motion is a fancy word of saying it's a topic. So if you want to become like debater for a long term, you always have to use words like motion and not topic. So we will be using words like motion here. So things to look for in a motion. Three things. First, a problem statement, because all debates is about solving a problem. So let's say I'll take a motion. This house believes that climate justice should be given more money than political power. That is one motion. Okay. So climate justice movements. Climate justice movements are basically, activists and people who fight for the protection and preservation of the climate. So here, the problem is that climate is destroying itself. Like obviously you have man-made causes to it as well. Global warming is at all-time high rise. Oceans are melting, glaciers are melting. There is high level of deforestation. Individuals are negligent. They throw the plastic here and there. There is no decomposition or biodegradation, or there is no, let's say, biodegradable waste which is there, because most of the waste is consumed by animals and then animals are found dead. So the problem is immense. What is a stakeholder? Can somebody explain me? Raising hands for who are stakeholders. Lower hands so I can actually recognize people who understand what stakeholders are. Okay. I'll take Sanchit. Wait, where's Sanchit? Okay. I have to look at people, just a second. I see 4 hands. Okay, Naisha, go ahead. Tell me what a stakeholder is.
Hello.
Yes, Naisha, what is a stakeholder?
Ma'am, actually, I want to ask that in ancient India, medieval India, so can we, modern India, in the modern India, can we use like the artificial intelligence while in the debating?
Yes. I think yeah, that's absolutely fine. One thing that I want you to be very clear, if I'm asking you a question right now, ensure that you stick with the motion slide that we're going through. If you have any question, just be patient. I will be addressing that post the session as well. So yeah, what is a stakeholder? I'm clearly looking for the hand right now. Okay, Anika, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, as per me, a stakeholder is a person who is being affected. Like, if we talk about voting is mandatory, so the stakeholders could be the citizens or the government.
Yes, stakeholders are the people who are affected by the motion. So, if you look at all the motions, let's look at 2. This house believes that voting should be mandatory. Who is affected here? Citizens of the country, government of that country. there can be multiple stakeholders. In the motion that we were discussing right now, this house believes that climate justice movement should be given more money than political power. Who are the most affected people? People who are living in the earth, like on the planet, people who are working towards preservation of climate, government, society. That's all. Stakeholders are people who are affected by the motion, and you have to recognize them. Thirdly, always try to solve a problem that you've identified. If you've identified a problem as poverty, tell me the root causes of how you can solve poverty and how can you benefit the society by eliminating the root cause of poverty. Do not look for arguments on the internet, look for clarifications and definitions only. A very wise way, since we want to preserve the ethical conduct of debating itself, try to do not be dependent on things like ChatGPT or Google, because you wouldn't be getting specific arguments anyway. So if any of you like use ChatGPT, it gives you very generalized argument. And if somebody is there in your round and both of you have used ChatGPT for the same motion, same side, everyone will have the same speech. So we do not want to be caught in that situation. So it's very important for you to look for clarifications and definitions if you want to have some troubles with the motion, but do not copy, do not plagiarize, try to use some level of originality. Practice motion. Let's look at one motion that I want to explain here. This house opposes. So before I actually go to the motion, I want to discuss three things. So there are a couple of types of wording. So you've been hearing words like this house believes that, this house opposes, this house supports. Let me just explain what these things are. So there are three types of motion categories. Let's look at this. Policy motions, actor motions, and analysis motions. Great. Policy motions are basically this house would. Yes, Anshita will take that. This house would, or this house will. So THW. This actor motions are this house as. We don't have to, let's pay a lot of attention here, but I'm telling you the wording of the motion and what does it look like. Important clarification on what analysis motions look like. So if you look at the wording here, this house believes that, this house regrets, this house supports, this house prefers, this house opposes, and yeah, that's all. So, you know, this house believes that is an analysis motion. This house believes that cats have done more harm than good. So what is this house? So this house is a room where you're debating, or a laptop screen where you're debating. So it's like a parliamentary way of saying, you know, the house supports it, or I'm debating from a perspective of what the house wants in the very first place. What is this house regrets? So this house regrets the rise of Orange Army. So, you know, on-side proposition, you will say, yes, I regret the rise of Orange Army. On opposition, you will say, no, I do not regret the rise of Orange Army. This house supports. You support on-side proposition, you don't support on opposition. This house prefers. You prefer something on proposition, and you don't prefer something on opposition. This house opposes is the vice versa of this house supports. Let me just look at this. This house opposes television. So on side proposition, you oppose television. On side opposition, you don't oppose television. That's all. Policy motions are basically this house word. So I'm just telling you the wording. Do not get confused with actor policy analysis, because this is not something that you have to like dig it down, but I'm just giving you what the wording of the motions look like, because oftentimes people are confused. What is this house opposes? What is this house regrets? What should we do, etc. So yes, let's look at a practice motion. This house opposes the publish or perish culture in academia. I will explain it. What do we have to do first on proposition? You will have to oppose the publish or perish culture in academia. And on side opposition, you don't have to oppose the publish or perish culture in academia. What is the publish or perish culture in academia? First, let's look at, there are two key terms, publish or perish and academia. Academia is a community of nerds. Who are nerds? People who constantly study. So if you look at professors, if you look at researchers, if you look at students, if you look at master students, PhD students, or students who have been researching for a while, like all of these people compiled is called an academic community. People who study a lot, that's all. They make money out of studying. What is publish or perish culture? You know, in academia, you have to constantly publish research papers to stay relevant, or you will die. and dying is called perish. So, this culture is named as this. So it is also true for film directors and actors. You have to constantly be, making films to stay relevant, or your career will die. You have to, this is true for singers as well. You have to constantly produce a song, or your career will be dead. Nobody will recognize you. If you think Taylor Swift stops making songs right now, will she be relevant in the next few years? Absolutely not. Nobody will remember her. So you have to constantly publish, or you will perish. That's a culture in academia. You have to oppose that on proposition, and you don't have to oppose that on side opposition. Works well with everyone what the motion looks like. Now I'll be taking arguments on proposition. Why do you oppose the publish or perish culture in academia? Let's take 90 seconds at least, and then I will recognize hands. Keep raising your hands. I want at least one argument from proposition and one argument on opposition. I will be recognizing hands. Great, 90 seconds, start now. The reason why I'm giving you preparation time is because you will be getting that in tournament, not 90 seconds, I mean more than that, but I want you to be very informed about it. Just don't be impulsive, just start thinking about the motion deeply. Keep raising hands, I'll recognize. Seconds left. Twenty seconds left. Sophia, publish or perish culture is you have to constantly publish research papers, or you will not be able to continue your career. This is true for acting, this is true for singing, this is true for researchers, this is true for like every profession that you go through. You have to constantly publish, or you will perish. The motion is right there in the slide. Keep listening to other speakers as well, so you get like easy recognition. You can also use the internet to understand the topic as well. Like just write publish or perish culture, you will be able to understand, but I will be repeating it. Let me just repeat it. So academia is a community of people who are researching. So professors, students, teachers, researchers, people who study a lot is basically an academic community. What is publish or perish? So, academic community has to constantly publish research papers, or their career will not function. So, if Taylor Swift stops singing today or stops producing music, her career will not go like long far. Everybody will forget her. You have to constantly stay relevant, or for you to constantly stay relevant, you will have to constantly publish, or you will perish. That's the thing. I have repeated that, Sophia, 3 times now. Okay, 10 seconds now. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks, Anvi, for writing it. Great. I will be recognizing few hands here. First, Jayashri Sanchit. I'm looking for arguments and proposition.
Ma'am, I'm audible, ma'am.
Yes, can you speak a little louder?
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, if you see, ma'am, people in academia work hard to publish some things, and if they want to take rest, they can only take rest
for few months or not even months, only weeks or so. So they have to constantly publish news on new things. So they will get tired and they can focus on uh, publishing new things. So they will soon perish. So, I that the public or parish culture in academia. This is why um this is why
Okay, thank you.
in this is why many people in academia done very well in the past years, but now they're not now because they were perished. No one remembers them. That's why I oppose publish or perish culture in academia.
Yes, thank you so much, Jayashree Sanchit, for that. Great. I will be recognizing one more hand because we're running short on time and I have 2 more motions to cover. Krishna. Be a little quick here.
Yeah, hello. Am I
Okay,
audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I do not agree to this motion because school is providing us education in a way which we are not able to get at home. For example, if you have to study for something, school is always creating some kind of a pressure on us, but still it is pushing us forward to get our career set into a job or something. It is helping us ourselves to achieve something, no matter it has a negative impact. We say that it has a negative impact, but according to me, it has a positive impact because it is at the end of the day, it is creating it is making an like
Yes, thank you so much, Krishna, for that. Fine. Just ensure that you have a proper structure, but also more explanation to why your points are true on your side of the house to begin with. I will take one more hand. Sanchit, go ahead. Or maybe like one more hand after Sanchit, but yeah.
So one of the greatest hypotheses that have supported most of the creators in the modern world is that we need to publish quality and not quantity. Good evening to the house at large, and I would like to present my views on why the publish or perish culture in academia, I oppose it. So basically, I believe that this culture is very wrong because it forces the people to publish their papers very frequently, which causes, first of all, stress, and secondly, most of the greatest and most deep papers require more research. For example, Einstein's papers on general relativity and special relativity required him 15 years of study, and that which time, if taken in academia, would basically mean perishing, which is the only option left with the person. Also, you need to give the society time to understand your point, to basically take in what you just published. And that is why I believe that the publish and perish culture in academia should be opposed. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sanchit. That was really structured. One more hand, Rachit.
Yeah, may I start?
Yeah.
A very good evening to the honorable board members and my dear gods. Today, I'm going to be in proposition for the motion. That is, this house opposes the published or Paris culture in academia. Then what is this published or Paris culture? It can be referred to as the do or die slogan given by Mahatma Gandhi, that either you publish or your career will not gonna survive for more and it's not gonna flourish. Let's take the key terms that why the system, this culture should be opposed. Well, the first point that I would like to state is that it does not provide the researchers to imply a sufficient time that should be given to any research research work. You can take example of Sri Ramanujacharya and many other Indian astrologers and many other like philosophers. The research paper that are published by them and now are turned into great discoveries needed a lot of time and the results are in front of us. The next is that many times due to this great pressure on the academicians, they go to the various health problems that are nowadays growing common in Indian cities like Kota and many other cities where like we can say, there are many colleges and institutes. They suffer from anxiety, they suffer from depression and many more mental problems. And last, I would like to conclude my speech that that the House should oppose the culture of publish and perish in academia.
Great, thank you so much for that linear argumentation. Let's quickly go to what the sample argument looks like. First, the topic is going to school is important, and the claim is, so we are discussing opposition here. School has a negative environment. Because we're discussing like the topic is going to school is important, but you are discussing opposition. So what does reasoning look like? So always give a claim, give two reasoning, and then give an example. Reasonings look like in school, people tend to compare themselves with others. This is wrong. People should learn how to compete with themselves because at the end of the day, it matters if you're improving and not if your friend scores more for you. This could also lead to chaotic and unnecessarily competitive environment. So the point of all of this reason is to prove why school has a negative environment and why going to school is not important. This is something that we're discussing on opposition. Reasoning two is more explanation on toxic competition because in school people tend to compare themselves and that's really bad, creates like immense stress on you and you don't perform well. An example could be a kid fails in an exam, the kid will get bullied, and that is what happens in school, right? So it's important for you to focus on yourself as opposed to the competitive environment which gets toxic in school. So this is how you reason. Give a claim heading, explain that with two reasoning, give an example. That's all. An example can be reasoning, an example can be anything. Let's look at conclusion. What do we want to do in conclusion? I will take all the doubts a little later when I'm done with the reply speeches as well. Our conclusion is give the judge a gist of what you said. Summarize everything because for the past 3 minutes, you're trying to emphasize on something. So try to flag post it, try to tell the judge point A, I've spoken point A, I've spoken point D, I've spoken point D. So tell the most impactful thing that you've said in your speech. Try to summarize. So for example, in a debate like Western education versus ancient India education, you can end by saying if you want India to independently be the sparrow of gold, like it was, we must get away with Western education. So end with a quote or try to tell why your stance is best. And then you can say, proud to propose, proud to oppose. Let's go to reply speeches. This is the final speech. So you get two chances, your first speech, main speech, and then your final speech. What do you want to do in your reply speech? As the name suggests, reply, which means you will be now directly responding to what your opponent has been saying for so long. First, a reply actually looks like that you want to respond to your opponent because proposition and opposition are inherently disagreeing with each other if you look at it, and you want to ensure that your points are actually considered more than your opponent. So it is extremely important for you to constantly engage with the other speakers. I will write something here down. POIs are not allowed. POIs are basically questions. So you can't raise questions to your opponent and you expect them to answer. You can do that in your reply speech. POIs are not allowed. Reply speech fills that gap. Reply speech is fills that gap. Great. Now, what do we do in reply speech? Try to summarize what did you say in your first speech, and then try to respond to your opponent. That's all. If you're an opposition reply, try to give response to your proposition. If you're a proposition reply, try to give your responses to opposition. The same structure follows in reply: introduction, body, conclusion. I will now explain what introduction, body, conclusion looks like. Just a second, let me put my laptop on charger. Just give me 1 second. We are back. Apologies for inconvenience. I'll take doubts. Do we make 3 speeches? No, we make 2 speeches. This is not Asian parliamentary debate. Thanks for clarifying the doubt. Can our speech be less than 3 minutes, like 2 minutes and 30 seconds? Ensure that you complete your time. Try to speak for 3 minutes. If you stop at 2 minutes, 30 seconds, not an issue. Ma'am, can you give the meaning of POIs? POIs are not that relevant. This is called point of information. It's basically you ask question to your opponent, but we aren't doing point of information in this debate. We are instead doing reply speech. So try to stick with the format. I'm just giving you extra knowledge here. Okay, what do reply speeches consist of? Same thing. You get 2 chances to speak. Consider reply speech to be the last chance to prove why your side is winning. Just it's a proving or a contributive speech. So introduction involves try to ask rhetorical questions or try to disprove what your opponent has been saying. Second, give a statement about your observation in the debate so far. So, reply speeches are basically late in the debate, and you have seen the debate. You have heard both the sides, proposition, opposition. It is now your time to shine, and you have to prove, like, even if opponent is correct, why is your team the best, or why is your speech the best? So, example, in a debate about schools versus homeschooling, my worthy, you can start your reply speech like this. My worthy opponent believes that homeschooling could replace going to school. However, they fail to elaborate how will students be able to get practical knowledge and exposure to friends in their side. So, you try to tackle your opponent with tactical questions and you try to disprove most of the things that they're trying to say here. Let's look at body. I will be taking all the doubts after I'm done with reply speeches. The body of your speech, of your reply speech, should be more responsive. Try to tackle with what your opponent has been trying to raise questions. So obviously, an opponent will always try to, debunk you, try to, prove fallacious, let's say, arguments that were coming from your end. It's your time to defend why your stance is still correct. Second, explain why your opponents are wrong, why your points are more important. Try to contradict them. Point out all flaws in your opponent's reasons and examples. Give reasons to why you disapprove your opponents. Give counter examples. And I'll explain this example so it becomes much more clear. So in a debate about who is better, pizza or burger, and you are pizza, which means your proposition, and your opponent is burger. So your reply speech will look like this. Our opponents mentioned that burger had more nutritional value than pizza. However, that's untrue. Burger had, burger patty is generally fried in oil, which is not good for health. According to research, this is where you give example, and the research study that you have been referring to, a regular intake of burgers can lead to obesity or rise in cholesterol levels, and you can have like heart failure, etc. later. So yes, try to actively listen, because you can only give a good reply speech if you have listened and you've noted down everything that opposition has been saying. Obviously, do not write the entire speech of your opponent. Try to write the main point about what your opponent has been saying for so long. So yes, try to tackle with your opponent here. What to do in conclusion? Again, give the judge a gist of what you said. It is the last 30 seconds of your speech, and it is the last 30 seconds for you to prove why you're better. So tell the judge why you should win the debate. Tell the judge how your points were better than your opponent. End your speech by if your proposition, which means if you're supporting the motion, proud to propose. If your opposition, proud to oppose. You can also end your speech by I rest my case, but not my stance. Works well. And here we then move to how are you judged? What are the judges looking for you? Looking at your speech. 3 things, I've explained this yesterday as well, matter. What is the speaker saying? The quality and novelty of your argument. Are you relevant to the topic? Are you trying to fulfill everything? So let's say if the motion is this house believe that cats have done more harm than good. And if your proposition, if you're saying that dogs are better, it's basically you're trying to defend opposition. So try to clearly define everything and try to be vigilant. Try to have quality over quantity. Manner, 10 marks. Presentation, try to focus on your body language, posture. If you're trying to slouch, if you're trying to have no eye contact, all of this reflects badly on your manner marks. So do not try to read completely of the document. Try to refer to it. Do not write your speech from from hand to toe. Try to ensure that you write bullet points and then try to explain in front of the camera as well. Try to maintain some level of decorum. Ensure that you ask your clarifications in the chat box and just be respectful to your opponent. Obviously, like debating gets a little like hostile at points of time, but we want to ensure that we have some positivity attached to it. Thirdly, method. Method is your strategy. 10 marks again. Is the person, like in your reply speech, if you don't try to disprove your opponent, I think that will be bad. You have to ensure that you engage with your opponent. Try to disprove whatever they say. Second, do their arguments have proper structure? Thirdly, rebuttals and integration. Try to rebut, try to disagree with whatever your opponent has been saying for so long. Like you can say, our opponent said this, but we disagree, and then your point. That's all. Great. We come to the end of this session. I will now be taking extensive doubts. Okay, I'll look at the chat box. Keep writing doubts in the chat box. I will be sharing the recording. Don't worry at all. Okay, I'll look at the doubts in the chat box. If you don't have a doubt, if you want to leave and if you want to exit the session, thank you so much for joining. Join tomorrow for mocks and preparation. We will be discussing more and we will be having much more engaging sessions tomorrow. Today was more about how to approach a motion and how do we create an argument from scratch, how to define, how to have key terms, etc. Great. Yes, I will do that. Just a second. I'll just look at a chat. Write your doubts in the chat box so I can address like 2 minutes to chat box. Do we have to make 3 speeches? 2 speeches, your main speech and your reply? Yes, exactly. What if our speech is 3.5 or 4 minutes? Note, in method, there is something called sticking to the time limit. Do not have a speech for 4 minutes when your time is 3 minutes. Try to do not exceed the time to like 1.5 minute. If you can, like, let's say if your time was like 3 minutes, 20 seconds, that's fine, but don't make it 4 minutes. You are not negatively marked. Sorry, I could not hear what is the margin that speech can be between. The speech should be like of 3 minutes. Ma'am, you said that we can end by saying I rest my case, not my stats. So what is the proper meaning of this line? Okay, you can say like I rest my case, not my stance. So you rest your speech, but you don't stop preferring it. So you support your stance at all points of time. Although you've stopped your speech, I still support my stance. Yes, can you give me some tips because I'm not really confident about my speech skills? Don't worry about it. Try to practice in front of the mirror, record your speech, take baby steps. Try to also look at videos. We will be sharing it. Will there be PPT for D2? Yes, I will be sharing it. What is the theme? Ancient India to AI-led India. What is proposition and opposition reply? Proposition reply is the second speech of proposition where you try to disprove your opponent. Opposition reply is when you try to disprove whatever your proposition has said. It's the second speech, lasts for 3 minutes. Great. Chat box is done. Let's look at unmuting yourself. Yes, raise your doubts. Just your hands. Yes, Anshita, go ahead.
Ma'am, I have 2 doubts.
Yeah.
First of all is a basic doubt about the debate. So I could not understand whether debate is about the point being right or wrong, or whether your opinion or your views are better.
Yeah, so it's a culmination of both. So you get oftentimes the choice in debate is less. You're allocated your sides according to what the organization committee has the allocated software. So it's a culmination of both. The house believes that cats have done more harm than good, although your opinions that dogs are better, but you're allocated the side proposition, which means you have to say cats have done more harm, which means obviously you're saying dogs are better. But yes, it's like you have to inculcate your opinion, plus you have to support the house, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. And the other doubt is, while preparing our speeches for the final debate or for the qualifiers round, should we just prepare a speech from good morning till the end, or should we keep pointers and then create the speech ourselves on the spot?
Okay, since you're getting like preparation round, I think that's a really nice question. You can start preparing extensive research matter on what you want to say. So write bullet points. What is the main thing that you want to cover? Because writing a speech, anyone can do it. If you want to practice in front of the mirror, record your speech, sure you can do it, but try to extensively research on the quality of an argument as opposed to simply doing filler stuff. This looks like good morning, greetings, etc. Works well?
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Anshita. Yash? Okay, yeah, just a second. Let me just unmute you. Yeah, Yash, go ahead.
Ma'am, I want to ask, ma'am, the judges would be there, ma'am. The choices of the judge would affect the result.
So judges are extremely fair. They will be marking you on the quality of your arguments as opposed to any sort of predisposed prejudices or biases. So trust the judges.
Okay, ma'am.
Great. Prisha? If you don't have a doubt, ensure that you leave the session. Thank you so much, middle category. Meet you tomorrow, same
Ma'am.
time. I will be sharing the recording.
Ma'am,
Yeah, Prisha.
I want to ask that tomorrow at what time do we have to join?
6:30 p.m. same time.
Sure.
Great. Link will be shared. Sanchit?
Yes, ma'am. So I had two doubts that maybe I couldn't explain myself in the chat box. Ma'am, because of course we can't understand